Before we get into this video is sponsored by Pro Guides. If you are dedicated to improving as a player, I highly recommend you check them out. Link in the description.
I smell fear. They should run now.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mickey C, aka TheLoLHounds, and I haven't done one of these videos in a while. I only really enjoy doing them on different builds or unique strategies because I don't really see the point if they just use a build that everyone else uses. So this is going to be a build guide on a Shyvana jungle main from the Korean server, the highest ranked Shyvana jungle player, who is currently master tier. And Shyvana isn't really a very popular champion, especially at the higher elos, so that's why I wanted to do this video. Now, according to OPGG, this guy is actually a top laner for a Chinese team. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to title this video, the highest ranked Shyvana Korean player, but he's actually Chinese. I don't think he plays for one of the top Chinese teams, but it shows that jungle is supposedly his secondary role. However, in solo queue, he normally just plays Shyvana in the jungle, at least in recent times. So this video is going to focus on his runes, masteries, item build, and then we're going to look at his early game jungle path strategy. Make sure you stick around for that one. So without further ado, let's do this. So summoner spells obviously are always flash and smite, but for his masteries he takes an 18-0-12 page, with his keystone being fervor of battle. This is a fairly common page and you guys can just copy it if you want to. As for his runes, he takes 9 attack speed reds, 9 armor yellows, 4 attack speed blues, 5 armor blues, and 3 attack speed quints. Both attack speed and armor help a lot with your early game jungle clears. Obviously, armor means you take less damage and attack speed helps you clear faster. And as we will get into this later, he does favor farming over ganks in the early game, gaining his advantages with experience leads and just farming quicker than the enemy jungler, which gives him a strong mid-game power spike. Let's move on to his item build. So starting items would be a hunter's machete and a refillable potion. His first back would often be a skirmisher saber and tier 1 boots. This will then lead into his core build, which would be red smite, a blood razor, defensive boots, so either merc treads or ninja tabbies depending on the enemy team comp. If they've got a lot of CC, you probably want to go with merc treads, otherwise ninja tabbies. And then frozen mallet. Frozen Mallet is the interesting one because you don't see it that often on Shyvana. Most people would build a Tiamat into a Titanic Hydra as their second item, or maybe even a Blade of the Rune King. Tiamat allows you to clear even faster and gives you more damage. However, when you just have the Tiamat and the Blood Razor, you are very squishy, and Shyvana often will play as the engage or the front line because that's just how her kit works. You jump in and you can't get out, so being very squishy and behind would be a big problem because you would just get blown up. The benefits though of taking Frozen Mallet instead are you are much tankier, and the slow on your auto attacks with red buff on top of that means that if you can get into auto attack range, the enemy champion is not going to be able to get away from Shyvana without flash. After those two items, a blood razor and frozen mallet, the remaining items would be full tank items such as Randuin's Omen, which by the way also has a slow, so kiting Shyvana would be even harder with this item. And then Spirit Visage and Thornmail. Other tanky situational items he would consider would be Warmogs, Gargoyle Stone Plate, and a Dead Man's Plate. I will point out he much prefers the Randuin's over Dead Man's Plate because because he hasn't gone with Dead Man's Plate in over a month. As for his skill order, he would start W, get E second if he started Raptors and before moving on to the red buff, and Q second if he started red buff moving on to the Raptor camp. Max W first, E second, Q third, and his ultimate whenever he can. This is a bit different as well because a lot of people actually max Q second instead of E. In case you were not sure, Q is the twin bite and E is the flame breath. Not 100% sure of the reasoning for this, but maxing E second gives her more mixed damage as it deals magic damage, and it is also Shyvana's only ranged ability. Also, Q applies on-hit effects, and since he doesn't build items such as Blade of the Ruined King, he thinks it is more beneficial to max E second instead. Now finally, let's talk about his jungle path and strategy. So Shyvana's passive is she gains magic resist and armor for each dragon her team gets. However, he doesn't seem to worry about getting dragons too much in the early game, and he would never ever solo dragon just because he can. He would just get dragon like any other jungler with his team if they can. Getting dragons would just be a bonus, so it's not something that he actively looks to get and looks to solo. As for his jungle path, from the games I spectated, he always started on the red buff side. However, when he was on the top side, he started Raptors and got a leash from his mid laner, but when he was on the bot side, he started the red buff so he can get a leash from his bot lane. So I think it is more beneficial to start Raptors, but only if you can get a decent leash from your mid laner, otherwise just start the red buff. So the first two camps would always be Raptors and red buff. Following on from this though, the standard jungle clear that he would go with would be Wolves, then blue buff and Gromp, using his first smite on blue buff and his second on Gromp. And because he uses his first smite only on the fourth camp that he does, he uses his 2 refillable potions straight away. Straight after doing Gromp, he would then head over to the enemy Raptor camp. Now, a lot of junglers on their first clear don't do the Raptors, so they will most likely be up. So he would take them, drop a ward so he can get some vision for his team, and then use the blasting cone to jump over to Krugs and get them as well. And once again, after doing them, he will drop a ward before immediately backing, not focusing on ganks whatsoever. You can see he could have ganked bot lane here, but they weren't that far pushed up and they both had flash, so they definitely wouldn't have got the kill, so he just backed straight away instead. His main focus is clearly farming. Now obviously things can change depending on how the enemy jungler plays, but if Raptors are not up, he would just drop a ward and once again immediately back. Now on his second clear, if Raptors are up, he will start them and skip Krugs, but if Raptors are not up yet, he will start Krugs and then move on to Raptors, basically taking the exact same route as he did for his first clear: Raptors, Wolves, and then Gromp, and then once again head over to the enemy Raptor camp. In this game, for example, between going to the Raptor camp and Wolves, the Wolf camp had not spawned yet. He dropped a pink ward and then he saw a counter gank opportunity in the mid lane where he ended up getting a kill. Then he eventually went on to do the Wolf camp and Gromp, and then for the second time this game to the enemy Raptor camp, where he spotted out the Elise, and as you can see, he was already level 6 and Elise was only level 4. He applied pressure with his ultimate, didn't get the kill, but got the camp instead, putting Elise even further behind. After that, he immediately backed. He could have gone and taken the Krugs because he knows it's just about to spawn, because he did take it immediately after doing the Raptor camp on his first clear. However, he does know that his red buff is also about to spawn, so he wants to make sure he secures that. So basically now onto his third jungle clear, he would just do a full clear from Krugs to Gromp. However, at this stage of the game, you should be looking for more gank opportunities. For example, after doing Raptors here, once again he went mid and ganked this Anivia because he saw that the mid laner needed some help. After doing the third full clear, he can then back, and now he is very strong, and after this he's going to be looking for every opportunity to fight fight the enemy team because he knows he is super strong at this point in the game. So maybe he would gank bot lane, get some kills, get the tower, then get dragon, rotate to mid, get the mid lane tower, and snowball the game from there. So you can see how this jungle path is very solid for a champion like Shyvana. I also think it can work well for champions or farming champions who don't need an early blue buff, so maybe champions such as Graves or Master Yi. Anyway, that pretty much does it for the video. I wouldn't say Shyvana is the strongest jungler right now, but she definitely can still work out. That is the highest ranked Korean server Shyvana. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, drop that like button. And as always, have a nice day.